A new lobby group was established to work on behalf of Japanese companies building vehicles in southern Ontario. Toyota and Honda combined to form the Pacific Manufacturing Association of Canada. The two companies accounted for about 3/4 of vehicles produced in Canada last year. Toyota's Canadian plants are in Woodstock and Cambridge. Honda makes vehicles in Alliston. The new association emerged amid manufacturing struggles under U.S. tariffs and preparations for new North American trade agreement negotiations. I think everybody anticipated that this was going to be one of the most dynamic years for the economy, for the automotive industry, for trade negotiations, and so all hands were needed on deck. And Canada needed people pulling in the same direction. And the thought was for Canada to experience a great economic leap forward against Trump tariffs. Yes, this was good news for Canada, but it was not Canada has won good news. It was what I would term defensive good news. The launch of the Pacific Manufacturing Association of Canada, PMAC, helped Canada because it turned Toyota and Honda's Canadian footprint into a coordinated political voice at the exact moment U.S. tariffs and the USMCA review were threatening the logic of Canadian auto production. Here is actually the key point. Toyota and Honda are not small players in Canada anymore. Ward's Auto reported that in 2025, Honda of Canada Manufacturing and Toyota Motor Manufacturing Canada assembled 77% of vehicles made in Canada. Toyota's Canadian plants are in Cambridge and Woodstock, while Honda builds in Alliston. PMAC's first major focus is the USMCA review, because these companies need access to the U.S. market, where Canadian-made vehicles are largely sold. So, at the advent of Trump's auto tariffs, this helped Canada in 3 ways. First, it gave Canada a stronger argument that Canadian auto manufacturing is not just Canadian. It is part of a wider North American and Japanese-invested manufacturing system. If Washington hurts Canadian production, it also hurts Toyota, Honda, suppliers, dealers, U.S. consumers, and North American competitiveness. Reuters reported that major auto groups are now urging Trump to extend USMCA, warning that fragmenting the agreement would weaken the supply chains it was designed to strengthen. Second, PMAC helped Canada politically because Toyota and Honda represent stable, high-volume production in Ontario at a time when parts of the Detroit Three have pulled back. That gives Ottawa something important to point to, which is Canada is still a serious vehicle production base, not just a branch plant afterthought. This matters before the USMCA review because Canada needs proof that keeping tariff-free or low-friction access is not charity. It protects real production capacity. Third, it helps Canada because Toyota and Honda are exactly the kind of companies Washington cannot easily dismiss. These are global automakers with large U.S. operations too. When they say North American integration matters, it does not sound like Canada pleading alone. It sounds like the auto industry warning that tariffs are damaging the whole production system. However, things have changed, or are about to change. The problem is that the same tariff pressure that made PMAC valuable also exposed how vulnerable Canada is. Reuters reported that Honda forecast a 59% profit decline and put its Ontario EV supply chain plan on hold for about 2 years, citing uncertainty from Trump's tariffs and slower EV demand. Canada later said Honda assured it that current jobs would not be lost, and that Honda remained committed to major EV investment in the country. But the postponement still matters. It shows that companies may defend Canadian production while delaying the next wave of investment. That is the shift. PMAC helps Canada by literally saying, Toyota and Honda are here, they matter, and Canada must be protected inside North American auto trade. But the newer warning is, even strong companies may slow future investment if tariffs make Canada look risky. PMAC is not proof that Canada escaped Trump's tariffs. It is proof that Canada's auto sector is organizing because the danger is real. At first, Toyota and Honda's united voice helped Canada by strengthening the case for preserving USMCA access and protecting Ontario manufacturing. But now, with EV investments delayed and auto groups urgently pushing for USMCA extension, the message is sharper. However, Canada still has industrial leverage, but that leverage depends on one thing: keeping the North American market predictable. If Trump's tariffs make Canadian-built vehicles more expensive than vehicles imported from other U.S. trade partners, then Canada's advantage starts turning into exposure. Reuters reported that after Trump imposed 25% global auto tariffs, later deals cut tariffs for Japan, the EU, South Korea, and Britain, making some imports cheaper than vehicles from Mexico or Canada. That is the scary part. Canada has Toyota and Honda. Canada has production scale. Canada has skilled workers. Canada has Ontario's manufacturing base. But if U.S. policy punishes Canadian production while giving better terms to other countries, then Canada's strongest auto assets become trapped inside a broken trade logic. So yes, PMAC was good news, but it was good news because Canada needed a shield. And the fact that Toyota and Honda had to form that shield tells you the pressure is already serious. But the one most important point we must reiterate is that the PMAC story is bigger than one lobby group. Toyota and Honda did not form this association because everything is safe. They formed it because the next USMCA fight could decide whether Canadian auto manufacturing remains a core part of North America's future or becomes a high-cost, high-risk location inside a broken trade system. That is the paradox. PMAC strengthens Canada's voice, but PMAC also proves Canada needs a stronger voice. Because when two companies that build most of Canada's vehicles decide they need a new political platform, that tells you the risk is no longer theoretical. It has entered the boardroom. And boardrooms do not always announce retreat with factory closures. Sometimes they announce it quietly, by delaying the next plant, by slowing the next investment, by extending older models instead of building future ones, by waiting to see whether the rules still make sense. That is what Canada has to fear most. So, the real question now is simple. Can Canada keep Toyota and Honda betting on Ontario, or will tariff uncertainty push the next generation of auto investments somewhere else? That is the part to watch, because in trade, the damage does not always arrive with a factory closure. Sometimes it starts with hesitation. If this analysis helped you see the bigger picture, subscribe to Tradeconomics. Share this video so others can understand what is really at stake, and click the notification bell so you do not miss our next breakdown. At Tradeconomics, we follow the markets first, then expose the power mechanics underneath.